everybody. We're absolutely delighted to be here, and I'm especially delighted to be here with Aquilino Peña as well, who is the founding partner of Kibo Ventures, which, in case you don't know, and you definitely should know, they have a super angel approach, early stage fund, and they just closed a 70 million second fund last fall. And they've got a large number of investments, and I could tell you about loads of them. I'll just pull up a few of my favorites. I'm thinking about investments in Job and Talent, Flywire, Car2, and also some magnificent exits as well, the likes of Trip for Real, which was acquired by Airbnb. Also Duxboard, which was sold to New Relic. You're nodding, and you know all this anyway, but I'm just making sure in case people don't know. But prior to founding Kibo Ventures, Aki has actually been in the business since the late 90s. You don't look that old, just so you know. He's been an e-commerce entrepreneur, an executive, and an investor, both personally and also now professionally. And we're going to be together for about the next 25 minutes. But we're going to do something a little bit different today in the spirit of sharing. So this is billed as a fireside chat. But actually, the way we're going to do this is that I'm going to interview Aki for a little bit, find out what's the latest in the Spanish VC ecosystem, and then he's going to turn the tables on me and ask me a little bit about Facebook and some of the work that we're doing, and I think a little bit on culture as well. Yeah.
That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah. That's what we're going to be doing right now. So I'm going to dive right in. So it's absolutely fantastic to be here with you. And I think it's fair to say that since we were all at this conference last year, quite a lot has changed with the world of the startup ecosystem, especially when it comes to the consumer. So can you tell us all a little bit about what's happened over the last year, how you think it's affecting businesses, and the ones that are most interesting to you?
Well, thanks, Nicola. I will introduce Nicola later on, which has a far more interesting story than I have.
That's not true.
And well, hello to everyone. Good morning. I mean, things have changed a lot. I think the mobile continues to be the name of the game, and we're looking, huge amount of things in mobile. No? And what I think is interesting about mobile is that it's not just changing the way we consume content or do things obviously with our mobile all day, but the way it's transforming real businesses. And there's a couple of good examples here in our ecosystem. Job and Talent, for example, is making or changing the way temporary workers find jobs, so they can find a job near them on the mobile, do the interview on the mobile, sign the contract on the mobile, and just go work. No? Or Wallapop is the Barcelona-based company, is now disrupting a very traditional business, which is classifieds, just by unifying the fact that it's mobile and obviously it has geolocation on it, so you can buy things from people near you. And I think that's phenomenal. Another thing that we're seeing here is as a result of the on-demand economy, the last mile delivery is going nuts. So there is a lot of business models that are trying to become profitable businesses on the last mile. We are seeing many of them here in London, for example, Job and Talent, the mobile app to find temporary jobs is desperately looking for people that can work for the Deliveroo's, the Jeans, and the Uber Eats, and also for motorcycles. So this is going just crazy because there's not even enough motorcycles. No? And on the comms side, I think messaging is huge, but we still yet need to see whether that becomes really a platform where other businesses can flourish, and I'm sure we'll discuss that a little bit later, or just a huge communication tool for all of us. No? But it's super exciting times to be investing here. So.
And how do you think that mobile acquisition has changed in this time as well?
Well, mobile, is not only changing business models themselves, but also how we are acquiring customers, no? And actually, this is not a commercial, but I think there's a huge shift in dollars to mobile acquisitions, but not only to mobile acquisitions, but for example, with Facebook, we are doing lots of mobile activation. So you don't get people only to download your app, but also to use and make sure that people uses your tools and your apps. No? So I think the shift is moving from mobile to more customer retention, with mobile, you have a much direct access to your customers, and you can make sure they keep engaging with you, no?
Okay. So we're here in Barcelona, this magnificent city. Why do you think that Spain is a great place for building a digital business?
Well, Spain is, you just have to walk around and see how many, great investors from all around the globe are here looking for Spanish startups, no? And the fact is that we are in a very unique position now where Spain has the talent and Spain has the capital, both from people like me, who are local guys investing in local businesses, and also from people from outside, no? We already start to have second-time entrepreneurs, which really make a difference because they really become more, they have a more ambition on what they want to build and the impact they want to have, no? We are having great technical talent. We are attracting lots of foreign entrepreneurs and lifestyle food. We had a phenomenal dinner yesterday. So
we did. I have to say the food here is insanely good.
And so that attracts people. And also we have very good business school like ESE, SADE, IE, that attract people that decide to stay here. We have Busu in Madrid. We have Typeform in Barcelona, Travel Perk by Avi Meyer, also built here in Barcelona. So those are great people that are from all around the globe that choose Spain to develop their businesses, and they have the tools and the capital. So
picking up on the capital, because Spain a couple of years ago, the investments here were quite flat. How are you finding that now more recently?
Well, the venture capital investment in Spain has grown from, let's say, roughly 150 million to over 600 million last year. And this year is going to really pick up. And I agree that the last 2 years we've been like around on the 600 mark, but mainly because the foreign investors have kept going up, but local guys, we've been involved in very long fundraising process, no? Like most of the funds were fundraising at the same time, so there was, but now the ecosystem has picked up really strongly, and 2017 will probably be a super record year.
And will it be a year of big exits?
Well, hopefully. This year alone in Spain, we've had a $1 billion worth of exits, no? With Privalia here in Barcelona being the largest one. He's probably a very large client of yours. It's a great company. And a company that also is very big in mobile, so probably 60–65% of the transactions are going on the mobile. And we expect that there was a panel here, and it was Telefónica, who's also an investor of our fund, and we see that corporates are really starting to embrace, not yet embracing, are starting to embrace startups as a way to innovate, and so we will see more local exits, so I don't have to go to Seattle, Portland, or San Francisco to sell companies. No?
Great. So the conditions here are good. How do you encourage your companies to think about international expansion, export?
Well, that's one of the hardest processes in the lifetime of a company, because all the companies where we fail, or I'd say most of the failures that we've had have the internationalization war involved. So it's hard, and we're actually the good ones are the ones that do it on a lightweight, so I would say lightweight, and that really use the existing platforms, no? Whether it's Facebook has been extremely effective for us to expand companies, or distributors, or in the B2B side, working with distributors and third-party resellers, no? That has been, every time we've tried to do it our own, we've failed, so we need to do it with partners.
Okay. And one of the interesting stats that we pulled recently is that there's 180 million people not living in Spain that are connected on the Facebook network somewhere in the world to these businesses in Spain. So it's good to see that opportunity is there, and that you're encouraging people to get out there and to connect to the people that matter to them.
And well, that's a great number, and the fact that you can reach that amount of people just by doing the same thing is you can multiply your business by 5–6x just by doing the same thing, no? There is a website I really love. It's called Aceros de España, which they make swords.
Okay.
And they are in a little town in Teruel, and
Have you got one?
No, I haven't got one. But the Lord of the Rings, the movie, they've done all the swords, and they have lots of swords.
Really?
Yeah, they've bought them from them. And it's from a tiny place, and they export 99% of the swords.
Okay, so in the olden days, they could only ever sell in the village or the next city.
Exactly.
Now, people that are interested in this, they can buy it anywhere in the world. Fantastic. So we haven't got very long between us. I could ask you millions of questions, but we have a bit of a Facebook tradition where we like to ask a quick fire round of questions.
Okay.
So you don't know about this, you don't know what I'm going to ask, and you just have to say the first thing that comes to you top of mind, okay? So Messenger or WhatsApp?
I'm from Spain. WhatsApp.
Okay. Sun or snow?
Snow, clearly.
Oh, clearly. iPhone or Android?
Android.
Founder with a heart or founder with experience?
That's a hard one.
That's why I asked it.
I'll go with experience.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm being conservative there.
Red wine or white wine?
Red wine.
I knew that answer.
Red
And
wine.
my final question to you, hard work or lucky break?
No, hard work, clearly. Yeah.
Every
No.
time. So now I'm switching it over to you.
Okay, excellent. So you're very fortunate to have Nicola here. Nicola is one of the, I would say, most impactful persons on tech now, and mainly in Europe. And she runs EMEA for Facebook. And I asked her, what does EMEA really means? And that really means a lot. It means from South Africa all the way to Nordics and all the way to the Asian Sea at the edges of Russia. So lots of markets. And she's been involved in the creative industry, so she comes from the marketing industry, and she's been in Facebook for a number of years. And she has a huge perspective. We had a really great dinner last night on how what they are doing, no? So before we jump into more business-related questions, I'm super curious to understand how Facebook, because there are lots of founders here, no? And obviously Facebook at some point was a startup, and in a sense it still has the feeling of being a startup.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting about Facebook is that it's one of the most global internet company, but there are only a limited amount of people working for Facebook. There are, I believe, there's around 15,000. So how do you build such a large business over so many markets while keeping that culture and that startup feeling?
Okay.
Because that's really hard.
Yeah, so this matters hugely to us, and I think some of the mistakes that people think about when having their own business is that, well, I'll get round to culture later on. That's not the case. Culture has to start. It's not a luxury. It's not something you can do after. It's something that has to be absolutely at the core from day one. And the way that we think about our culture, it's something we prize incredibly importantly. And we actually build it up in a series of values that we sort of call the hacker way. And it's a way of connecting us right back to the beginnings of Facebook, when Mark was in his university dorm room with his mates, starting to build the platform. And so there's a set of guiding principles that we live by. And I love the fact that you feel that we still feel like a startup, because that matters to us. I don't know if anybody's ever been to our headquarters. Give me a show of hands if anyone's ever been to our headquarters in Menlo Park. Okay, a handful of people. So you know that in lots of places around the place, it's actually quite unfinished. And that's deliberate. And we've got signs up that say things like, this journey 1% done, because we constantly think that there's more to do, and there is.
Yeah,
the reason we're all here today is because we know that there's so much more that we need to do. But the hacker way matters to us, and we like it so much it's actually the name of the street that our headquarters are on. So when you arrive there, that's where, so the address is One Hacker Way. But some of the guiding principles, we really live them through every day. So an example of that is about openness. Our mission is to make the world more open and connected. Okay. Openness is at the heart, and being open. So one of the ways that Mark Zuckerberg role models that behavior is that every Friday afternoon, and he's done this since the last 13 years, he does an open Q&A for the whole company. And at this open Q&A, you can literally ask Mark anything. And so you have this extraordinary thing where you have the CEO of a large company.
And do people ask a lot?
Oh, they ask him everything. So obviously they'll ask him about if we've done some acquisitions, or something that might have been in the news that week that's business related. But they will absolutely ask him as well about how his daughter Max is getting on. These are my favorite questions. How his daughter Max is getting on with his dog Beast. And sometimes I pinch myself and I kind of go, that's quite extraordinary.
At what time do you do that meeting?
So we do it in the afternoon, and it's recorded. So it comes to Europe at around midnight on a Friday night, but it's recorded so people can watch it back. And people can send questions in advance so that those get answered as well. So it's not done by geography. But it's a pretty magical thing to be able to do, to ask him anything. So being open is a very important part of the culture, as is, being bold, as is, making impact, but as is also the whole emphasis that we place on, our contribution to social impact, the things that we can do. Examples of that are things like safety check, that people can be alerted.
Yes.
People have probably used it, unfortunately, for different natural disasters or human disasters. So culture is very important, and you see posters all about it everywhere you go in the company.
Okay, good. Okay, and jumping into more like business related, or because I'm sure everyone wants to know what's coming up next for Facebook. In those meetings, when you discuss internally where you want to be in the next, let's say, 3, 5, and 10 years. I mean, what's the headlines for what worries you for the next 3 years, 5, and 10?
Okay. So it's always a tricky thing, isn't it, at a tech conference to predict 10 years out.
But yeah, it's probably too much of it, yeah.
Mark's helped us here because he actually has set out a pattern in terms of, so I can quote Mark. So for the next 3 years, we're very much focused on building out the current ecosystems that we have in place. It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's some of the work that we're starting to do on Messenger, and really doubling down in that area. And then as we go out over the next 5 years, it's really building out, the new ecosystems that we're going to be looking at. But I think where it starts to get really interesting, and none of these things are absolute, so we do this for 3 years and then we wait, these things are all being worked in parallel. But I think the interesting thing is when they come to scale. 10 years out, the big bets that we're placing, first of all, I spoke about the mission.
Yep.
So we think there's a lot of work we need to still do on connecting the unconnected. So we're here, we're part of Mobile World Congress, we're here discussing 5G and this. Yeah. Majority of people on the planet are still not connected, 4 billion.
That's correct.
So we're putting a lot of work in that, whether it's work with the telco companies, whether it's our own work that we're doing with unmanned planes, satellites, internet.org, lots of work in that area. We're doing a lot of work also on artificial intelligence, which is also already in a lot of what is on the Facebook platform today, the recommendations that you might have with friends, etc. But also starting to do work about how AI can actually help visually impaired people be able to have a better Facebook experience, because it can start to tell them what's in a photograph. And then the very other area that we're putting a lot of work into is the whole area of VR and Oculus, which we're seeing as well.
How far are we of having some consumer products really on Oculus that, not just experimental, but just widespread product?
I think it's been great to see already. And you walk around the halls, there's a lot of people doing stuff with VR now, and there's a lot more content that's being created. So like any new technologies and new platforms, it takes time. I think we're getting past the experimental stage because it's getting out there. There are millions of these headsets out there now, but it's about the content, and that's still going to take some time, which is why it's in the 10-year bracket.
Yeah, exactly. That's on the and that's the future. Going to more to the present of what you guys are doing now. I'm really curious, mainly because of my experiences with my portfolio companies, but I'm curious on 3 topics. So let's do the Facebook challenge, but I'll tell you the topic and you can do a quick answer to it.
Okay.
For example, video.
Okay.
Video is huge.
Is that my answer?
What's going on with? Okay. Yes. A lot.
No, it is. We've seen a massive uptake in video on the platform, and if you think about how the platform's moved, it used to be text. Note to self: my first words ever on Facebook were "hello." Probably not the best thing that I could ever have written, given I now work there, but I didn't know. Hindsight's a good thing. But we're seeing now 100 million hours a day of video on Facebook. We're seeing more and more people sharing, uploading, enjoying videos on Facebook and Instagram, an increase of 150% in the last few months as well on Instagram in terms of video. So people are enjoying communicating more and more, especially bite-sized bits of video as well.
Okay. Another area where we are having really really good experiences with Facebook is e-commerce. And I started my career in online, building an e-commerce company as an entrepreneur. And e-commerce company, we are very short-termism because we look at where we are getting the sales from. No? But now we are real, and at the beginning we didn't look at Facebook as a way to acquire customers, whereby now we are shifting lots of dollars from other platforms into Facebook. And we're doing that with our companies, but there is a great example here, Hawkers.
Love Hawkers.
They are a great, a really different company, no? And they've built a huge business selling they sell sunglasses, and they are a super irreverent company, but they've sold last year close to $100 million in sunglasses, no? And they do that mostly on the Facebook platform and other social networks. So what's going on with Facebook and e-commerce that we are getting more excited about you as a platform?
So I think Hawkers is a great example because what they've done brilliantly is what we were talking about before on the export side. They said, well, it's not just Spanish people that want to buy sunglasses. Let's change the way that people think about sunglasses. And they sell, I think, in over 100 countries around the world now.
Wow.
And they've used our entire kind of suite of ad products in order to get people to buy the things that matter to them and that they want. And I heard a great quote by the founder who talked about the fact that it doesn't matter if all e-commerce businesses have got the same tools on Facebook, it's what you do with them. So their creative is phenomenal. I mean, it really looks arresting when you see how they go to market with it. And he describes it that he's got the canvas, but actually he's the Picasso. The way that he plays with it allows him to be Picasso, and that's the insight that he has. But we've really, we've listened a lot to people like you and to companies like Hawkers to understand how we can provide better services in order to reach the customers and get the sales that matter. So the tracking is, very much improved. We've also seen how we've helped on the export side, so greater insights. If you're going to sell in Germany or you're going to sell in the United States, what are the key dates? What are the key things, different insights that can be helpful there? And then lots of different ways through the different products as to how you can showcase the inventory that you have in a number of different ways. So quite a lot of work going on in that area, and we'll continue to do so.
And I think I have time for one more. What about messaging? We've discussed that people and eventually younger guys are really using messaging as the daily life enhancing tool. So how are you thinking about that and linking that with bots, with personal assistants, AI, so on and so forth?
Okay, so that's like a whole conference in itself, what we're doing in this area.
You have 2 minutes.
We're seeing extraordinary growth with both Messenger and also WhatsApp. So across the two platforms, there are 60 billion messages that are now being sent every day.
Wow.
So it's huge, and it's just to give it a comparison, that's 3 times the amount that was being sent on SMS when it was at its peak.
Wow.
We've shared and launched a number of new products on Messenger in particular, just in the last few months. So we now have a new camera. We now have group video where up to 50 people can come together. We've seen games on there, and yes, we've started to, just started to test how brands and how businesses can connect to the customers that matter, especially in the areas of things like e-commerce. And bots has really exploded over the last even 12 months, that we're starting to see how people are, whether it is customers that are, to have a better conversation with customers, and just starting to see actually how you might be able to transact as well. So I think it's a very exciting area. I think it's a very new area, but it's certainly an area that we're doing a lot of innovation in because, again, the things that, that people are telling us is it actually is helpful to have a lot of your information in one place with one open thread that makes it both easy for the person and also for the business to be able to interact together.
Well, 40 seconds left. Well, you did one conference in 2 minutes. Thanks very much.
No.
Well, no, it was great having this chat with you. Hope you all enjoyed. I think it's been, very good and very fun. So thanks very much.
And thank you. Thanks for having us. Thank you. We go that way.